Welcome to the latest Industry Insights podcast. Industry Insights is a reservoir of articles, interviews and other content relating to business, entrepreneurialism, leadership, charity, career pathways and networking. We'll be exploring the many opportunities in building the global integrative medicine community and how you can get involved. This is FX Medicine and I'm Andrew Whitfield Cook. Joining me in the studio today is Amie Skilton, who's a naturopath, nutritionist and herbalist of 14 years plus experience and who specialises in weight management, gut restoration and food sensitivities, women's hormonal imbalances and skin disorders, amongst many others. Amie is also a senior educator with bioceuticals and she's regularly appeared on TV showing people how to regain and maintain healthy glowing skin. And she's also an expert in social media. Today we'll be covering how to maximise social media. And I'd like to welcome Amie back to FX Medicine.
Thank you so much, Andrew. I don't know if I would go so far as to call myself an expert, but I have learned a thing or two which I would love to share.
Well, it's certainly in contrast to me.
Thanks.
Now, Amie, today we're going to be going through the various social media platforms that exist and how you can use them to greatest effect.
Yes.
So I think over to you.
Yes, certainly. Well, look, I just want to say up front that the list of potential social media platforms you could use are endless. So we're going to cover just a handful of the main, most popular ones with our demographic and natural medicine here in Australia and quite probably New Zealand as well. But before we do, I am going to go through the pros and cons of each one. But I just want to say this. I would be recommending that you choose one first initially and learn how to master that before going on to multiple platforms and really working out which platforms you want to be on. I was, my own mistake was trying to get on too many and I'm on Twitter, for example, which I never use, but I've got 200 and something followers who I don't really want to delete my profile for. So I'm kind of cheating and feeding through my Facebook and Instagram stuff through there just to keep the content coming through. But
so we'll cover that later because that's a nice little sneaky way which you can make one platform work for another.
It is, but there is a right way and a wrong way to do it also. But you know what? Let's start with Facebook. And I think most people will probably have a personal profile at this time. And if they haven't already set up a professional Facebook profile, this is a really good place to start. First of all, what I'd like to invite you to think of Facebook as, it's like a dinner party where your friends want to know what you've been up to. So it's a platform where you get to share what you do as a clinician using, clinical practice as an example here, where you can, post maybe not a case history or case study, but, a testimonial or a before and after result or feedback that you might have gotten or a compliment or something new that you learned or discovered in research or a great new recipe you've just tried. The aim always across all social media platforms is to create engagement, not to worry about the numbers of followers that you have, but the impact that you're having on the followers you've got. So that's really key. But with that dinner party concept in mind, that's the kind of conversation and varied conversation and also the depth of conversation that people are looking for when they come to Facebook. So if you haven't already set up a profile or you have one but you wouldn't mind giving it a review, just go back and double check that the blurb and the bio that you have on there really reflects your brand and your purpose. And, with your profile picture, ideally that should be a picture of you as an individual, whether or not it's in your clinic or it's a professional headshot or it's just a nice photo of you, it doesn't really matter, but people will connect much more readily with a person as opposed to a logo or a business entity.
So there's two photos that you see on the Facebook page. There's
Correct.
The background one and then the smaller one. The smaller one should be your face?
Yes, it should be, or your face should be on one or the other because people want to see who they're talking to, who's talking to them. And the cover photo is really a nice opportunity to, highlight a special event that you might be doing, or a special offer you've got, or a beautiful quote that you like. That's what mine is at the moment. But again, make sure that it reflects your brand story and isn't at odds with the image and the content that you're creating. It doesn't matter how often or how little you change these, but you want the whole thing to be consistent and cohesive so that it feels like a welcoming space that also is reflective of your website and where else you show up. With the other practicalities of setting up a Facebook profile, you also get the opportunity to create your own Facebook URL. So what that means is when you type in www.facebook.com/ instead of having just a bunch of random numbers and letters, which takes you to your professional page, you could actually name it Andrew Whitfield Cook, or you could name it...
I have no idea what mine is.
Yeah, well, it's probably a Facebook generated random character URL. Now that's okay because you can always go back and change it. However, you only get one opportunity to change it. Facebook's policy is you can only do that once. Mm-hmm. So with that in mind, let's say, for example, you're a practitioner working out of someone else's clinic. And I don't even know if there is a Double Bay Medical Centre, but I'm just making this up on the spot. I wouldn't advise you putting Double Bay Medical Centre if you then end up moving premises, for example. Yeah. So maybe using your name, or if it is your own business or the business name entity is your own, regardless of where you are. Mm-hmm. Update that. Mine's amie.skilton.naturopath. It's probably a bit long.
Pretty
to
sure
type.
That's not going to change.
No, that's not going to change.
Till you get married.
Yeah, possibly. And even then, that's probably a conversation for another day. But in terms of branding, if you've established a name for yourself prior to marriage, there are a lot of women who opt to keep their maiden names as their business name.
Can I just interject? Because a few times now you've brought up the word your brand.
Yes.
Now, we're not talking about a product here. We're talking about you.
Correct.
Mm-hmm. In this instance, aren't we?
Yes, we are. And it's a really important element, I think, of having your own business that a lot of people overlook. And there's also within that your personal brand and your business brand, and then who you show up for your clients is a combination of those two. So, for example, you might have a particular style of dressing, or particular everything about you is your personal brand, good, bad, and everything in between. Yeah. Same with your business. And if you're not consciously creating that, it's probably worth checking in to see what impression you're leaving with people, and considering whether or not you want to do some tweaking there. Again, you must be authentic, you must be you, but you're showing up as the best version of you, and your brand is that lasting, intangible impression that people are left with about how you speak, how you carry yourself, how they felt about your business and felt about you, and how you left them feeling about themselves, actually.
So if you're going to do a headshot, probably a good idea to change into business attire from your tank top and tracky dacks.
Well, yes, it's funny you say that. I've not seen a profile picture in quite an activewear like that. But
activewear, that's a cracker.
But I have seen some really naff 80s photo shoots that have looked like, the Vaseline lens type with the big hair and the gazing lovingly up to the camera, which I just... personally, in my own opinion, is not appropriate for a professional Facebook page. Now, you might not be a shirt and tie wearing kind of guy. I'm also not a fan of looking too formal. But yes, you want to be showing up the way that people can expect to see you in your clinic. So something that's authentic, but is the most polished version of you. So if Facebook is like a dinner party where your friends want to hear about what you're up to, it's a really great place to share all of that content and engage with people. And I think that's probably key with Facebook is making yourself available to engage with people and build that relationship. Now, the great things about Facebook, or some of them are that on average, people spend about 40 minutes a day on Facebook, which is a fair chunk of someone's time. I know people who spend a lot longer than that on Facebook, actually.
Wow.
And so you're having this opportunity of getting, what you do in front of people and helping improve their lives by the free things that you're sharing that are, might feel really basic to you, but for anyone outside of our industry could be the thing that changes their life. And actually, that's a really good point. Just a side note, regardless of what platform you're on, please always create your content with your audience in mind. One of the mistakes I made when I first started blogging was I was creating content almost for my peers or my colleagues. I was sharing quite heavy sciencey things. It was pretty dry, to be honest. And I was actually really probably in the back of my mind a bit fearful about what would a colleague think if they were reading my blog.
Yep.
Would this impress them? I was writing to impress them, not to support, inspire and instruct and entertain my ideal client or anyone who was following me. So anyway, I've obviously come a long way since then, and I'm now writing with that intended audience in mind, my customer, my client. And so it is in layman's terms, and it's not always referenced, although where I think it needs to be, it is. But yeah, you're getting a huge opportunity via Facebook to get that stuff in front of your ideal clients. It's great for spreading the word about your business. And if you create really shareable content, it can go viral very, very quickly. People can tag their friends in the post that they can see it. It's great for word of mouth, and you can get really active in private Facebook groups as well and show up there and be of service. The downside to Facebook, well, look, there's a few things, but the key one is the algorithms with Facebook are constantly changing. So just as you've figured out what works, they go and change the rules on you, and your organic reach drops down. So the amount of people who would naturally see your stuff without you paying to get it in front of them drops, which is a bit of a problem. But ultimately, what you need to focus on is creating content that your dream client would absolutely love. The kind of content that they just can't help but comment on or like or share with their friends who might have similar interests, and getting them engaged. So also on that note, don't ever ask for likes or comments. It's really tacky and usually ends up producing the opposite result. So what I mean by that is if you've posted something and then say, please click like or share,
Yeah.
you can ask in another way for engagement. Please tell me what you think below. Do you agree with me or do you not agree with me? Or did you find this helpful? Please let me know what else you might like me to, share with you. It's a great way to elicit free feedback from your target market.
Please like is like please be my friend,
Oh,
rather
it's
than
desperate.
giving them the reason to do that. Yeah.
Absolutely it is, yeah.
I was just doing some quick maths as to how many minutes a day people spend on Facebook, 40 odd minutes. That's getting up to around about 10% of the day. Let's say it's in addition to a working day, so 8 hours plus the 40 minutes. You're looking at around about 7 to 8% sort of thing.
It's a big chunk of someone's time.
That's actually quite a lot.
It's a lot. And, I don't know about you, but for me, it's typically mindless scrolling through the news feed more often than, messaging a friend or actively looking at someone's profile. And so it can sometimes be a boredom thing, a distraction thing. So if you can put something in their news feed that really lights them up, that's useful, that's a great way to capture them.
Reversing that, how can a practitioner maximise their time, i.e. minimise the amount of time they're spending on Facebook, but maximise the income or the output from it?
That's a really good question, and this probably applies across the board to all social media platforms. One would be to very carefully plan your content, because you can very easily fall into the social media black hole and come out hours later having achieved really nothing particularly constructive. Although, that can be really nice just as a mental break. Plan out your editorial calendar. That's the terminology that's used for content creation and when you're going to post it and what you're going to post when and why. So, there's different schools of thought around how often you should post on each of these platforms. And I've heard Facebook is at least once a day and ideally 3 or 4 times a day. I think no matter how often you can commit to actually posting quality content, the key is posting quality content. Because if you just post more stuff that is less engaging, your organic reach just plummets. So less is definitely more. I've only recently got back into posting on my social media profile on Facebook. However, even when I was doing it regularly, for me, it was probably 3 to 4 times a week at the most. And I get incredible engagement, partly because of how I write the content. But the other thing is when you post things like this and people are engaging at the time, you want to be able to quickly write back to them and chat to them. So with regards to pushing what you're producing out. Have it planned out. Pick weekly, monthly, seasonal themes. You might want to mix it up between practical how-tos to inspiring things, some case studies, especially if you're trying to attract more clients of that nature. Only you can really work out what works for you based on the things that really light you up and you enjoy sharing, and the things that really light your audience up and they engage with, and then you can just keep refining that. Now, there are a lot of different elements to other social media platforms, and Facebook is also in this vein where you can schedule your posts. However, I actually use an app called CoSchedule. Now, there's lots of other scheduling apps out there too. There are pros and cons to all of them, but I use that particular one because I can use it from inside my website and manage my blogging and social media all in one place.
So you can be doing stuff, let's say first thing in the morning to go out last thing at night.
Sure. Yes, you certainly can. You can put it down to the minute. Now, this is where looking at your analytics is really important, and Facebook have got their own dashboard actually, and you can work out when people are most often online, when they're most engaging with your page, so that you can optimize your engagement, which allows you to get more viewership both within your fan base and also outside of that, and pushing it onto the other news feeds. So Facebook rewards quality content, I think, is really the key message here. So less is more. You're far better off producing 1 or 2 great things a week than something daily that's really quite ordinary and same as everybody else. Testing and tracking everything is obviously really key to work out when your audience is most active. On each platform, it can be slightly different as well. When I last checked on Facebook, it seemed that between 11 and 11:30 in the morning was particularly good for me. Well, just before lunch, people are like,
play lunch.
Play lunch. They can't quite leave for lunch yet, so they were killing time. And 4:30, probably the same thing. And also sometimes early evening. So interestingly, there's been studies done around, like, if you're going to sell something, i.e. you've got a product or you're inviting customers to spend money with you, Tuesdays, I think, are the best day for that. Whereas people want on the weekend content that's more entertaining or helpful. And that's just from the brief information that I've looked at, changes all the time. So do what you feel like is right for you. We've covered in the last podcast not treating your professional page like a personal page, but I think it's worth reiterating here. You must always ask yourself, why have I created this page? What is my intention here? And if you're not looking to make money out of it, it's a hobby, not a business. And I would question whether you actually should have a professional Facebook page at all. But if you are, of course, looking to grow your business and your reach and your customer database from there, then every time you go to post something, just say, is this going to be of value to my customers? Are they going to appreciate this, or is this just a self-serving type post? And that will help you work out whether or not it's worth posting. Facebook's a lot more forgiving. It's like a social hangout. So people do enjoy perhaps less helpful posts than, say, on Instagram. If it's not beautiful, people can't stand it and they'll unfollow you. So Facebook has got a bit more forgivingness in it. Yeah. It also gives you the opportunity to invest financially and sponsor your ads and actually advertise yourself to exactly who you want. So if you're a practitioner who's dealing with, 50 plus males with cardiovascular disease, you can pay, $5, $10, $15 to push out your ad on what you do.
Is that it?
But
my thoughts there are, why on earth would anybody do a letterbox drop?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
1% at best.
Yeah, well, I think someone tried to tell me it was 3%, but I would agree with you. And it is such a waste of time and money, whereas in our industry, we have a lot of work to do to build credibility and rapport with people. People are putting their health and their lives in our hands. It's not like we're selling used cars, to use a terrible example, or a soy candle, for example. So we are going to have to put a lot more effort into building that online relationship before they'll actually come and see us. But it is absolutely fantastic return on revenue. Now, with regards to a post that's doing very well, you can click boost it, and then Facebook analytics will tell you whether it's doing well or not and whether you should convert it into an ad.
There's so many terms that you use during these podcasts, Amie. I have no idea where these buttons are. You showed me a couple just before. But I had no idea how to maximise that? Or
Yes.
just simple things. So
Yes.
again, this is going to be worthwhile things to watch.
Yes,
Yeah.
I agree. We'll put that on the list.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that really wraps up Facebook, and that probably is a great place to start for most practitioners, I think, because it is fairly user-friendly once you work out how to use the back interface. The other thing is, in addition to sponsored ads and posts, which will help attract more fans and potential customers, the other thing you can do, which is quite interesting, this is a relatively new discovery for me in the last couple of years, is what you find sometimes is if you post something and a bunch of your followers like it, that then goes into their respective news feeds and their friends and family see it. Then you can get people liking your stuff who aren't fans already. What you can do for everyone who likes or engages with your post, you actually can directly invite them to like your page. So that's probably worthwhile. In fact, it's probably worth covering right now how you grow your Facebook audience. So for many of you, you might already have a thriving business page and this is not relevant. But if you're just starting out or you're sitting on 5 followers and it's your parents and your siblings, how I did it was I created the page first, and then I started loading content for a couple of weeks so that there was something there to even look at for when people came to the page. So it was a mixture of things. I can't even remember now. No doubt a few recipes, a couple of health tips, some, an interesting infographic. People love infographics because they get educated whilst being entertained. And then I started inviting my immediate close friends and family, and then they shared the page. And then I started inviting, really friends sort of through the next orbit, so not quite so close, but now that I had a few runs on the board, it didn't look like I had an empty building of people to invite them to. And then just gradually grew it there. And then I've boosted a few posts in my time, but generally speaking, I haven't done that. And it's been just slow, gentle, organic growth. It's not where I'm focusing my energy at the moment, but if you were to, and you were getting serious about sponsored posts and Facebook ads, you can grow your reach very, very quickly and just baby step it until you've got like a nice little group of people and some nice content there for people to explore. And then I would consider maybe investing so that when you get fresh eyes on your page, they actually have something great to look at and have a reason to join.
I want to cover a point here, and that is, professional solicitation.
Oh, yeah.
Which in the olden days was just taboo. Wouldn't do it. And I just want to basically be open about it, be covered. Some people might think, oh, yeah, but this is sort of asking people to like you and potentially buy things if you have things available for sale. But I just want to point out things like medical sites with skin cancer, breast enhancement, gastric banding. Lawyers are doing it. Pharmacies have got it. As long as it's done professionally,
yes,
within your ethical boundaries,
correct,
and professional boundaries,
yes,
and with respect and definitely safety, with respect to other health practitioners in the healthcare team, and definitely safety, which is a big thing for me. As long as you incorporate all of those things, I think everybody knows it's a business. Correct.
Yes, and be very clear about that in your blurb, and you might even be worth writing a disclaimer as well, saying, everything posted here is not intended for, as a medical diagnosis or directive. Please see your healthcare professional, just to cover yourself. Of course, you've got your professional association guidelines and your own moral compass to follow. For me, probably the concern I always have in the front of my mind, you've got to always account for the lowest denominator, okay, in terms of intelligence and what might someone do with this information potentially. So I do get asked a lot of questions, both private message and, publicly, what can I do about this? What can I do about that? And you've got to be very, very careful about not giving advice, but also being helpful enough that people feel supported and heard, and maybe also so that they feel like, well, if I came to see you, I think you'd be able to help me with this. But you're right. Every business, every profession just about has got a business Facebook page, all of those things that you just mentioned. And it's simply another way of connecting with people. It's really not any different to having a website or taking an ad in the paper. It's just another medium. But how you conduct yourself there and the way you communicate is really important, just like anywhere else.
All right, so we've covered Facebook.
Yes.
But there's so many more. Twitter, for instance, one that I've joined, and I have no idea how to maximize the use of that. I end up wanting to put the URL, the web page URL for a certain paper I've read.
Yes.
And automatically I'm too long.
Yes. Look, Twitter is a really interesting platform, and I actually regret joining it now, I have to say, only because, as per my original advice, you should really choose platforms that you can commit to and do very well. Twitter is a micro-blogging platform, which means you're having conversations 140 characters at a time. And if Facebook was like a dinner party where your friends want to know what you're up to, Twitter's a water cooler moment. It's that brief, quick chat in passing. So it's short, sweet, it's peppy. There's no long-winded conversations. It's not really a place to have, really heated debates or...
No, but to me, it's a good platform to say, hey, look at this.
Oh, it's
interesting
a wonderful
study
platform.
Just came out.
Yes. Now, look, one of the ways that I intend to go back to using Twitter is by connecting my Facebook. So everything I post to Facebook just goes to Twitter, just so that there's no absence of content there, because there's nothing that's worse having a profile without content than not having a profile there at all, which is why I'm saying I really recommend mastering one before you move on to another, and only commit to as many as you can handle. And I think 2 really should be the limit. And you've also got to ask yourself, where are your ideal clients hanging out? Are they on Twitter chatting about, current affairs and this, that, and the other? Or are they on Facebook killing time scrolling through their newsfeed? Or are they scrolling through Instagram looking for inspiration? That's a really good question you've got to ask yourself. Now, I will give you a tip about the URLs being too long in just a moment. But if you want to consider joining Twitter, some of the benefits are it's really great to connect with people, to have a chat, especially people that you don't get to talk to all the time, or even say colleagues or people you admire in the industry. Like they say that Facebook is for people who you went to school with, and Twitter's for the people you wish you went to school with. So, so whether that's, people you admire in the industry.
Shout out to all the people I went to school with on Facebook.
So, that's, this people you're following who you look up to, or it might be celebrities or whatever it is. So it's great for connecting and having conversations with them. It's fast, and it's currently good if you're funny, you're quick-witted, and you've got something inspiring to share. The thing is, the news feed moves so fast with Twitter. Once you post something, it's gone in a nanosecond.
Man.
So
it's like Snapchat.
Yes. You got to really bear that in mind. It is easy to follow individuals and start conversations, and it's a great way to reach out for networking as well. And, if, for example, if there's something controversial on the news or in the media about natural medicine, it's a great place for me to either pipe up and say something, or pipe up and give them a link to my blog where I've written a more lengthy response or informative piece about it. So the cons of Twitter, of course, I've just mentioned one, that's fast moving, and what you post gets buried very, very quickly. So most people sit on the newsfeed of Twitter and don't come to your profile to see what you've posted. Having said that, especially when they're looking to join you, or they are checking your Twitter profile, let me give you a little tip here. You can pin a tweet to the top of your page, just like you can pin a post to the top of your Facebook page, which means no matter when you tweeted that little tweet, it stays at the very top. So if you've got something really powerful or really inspiring or really topical that you posted, you can actually pin that to the top of your page, so that even all of your other tweets coming through go below it, so that if anyone lands on your page, they see your best thing first.
Right. So whether that be, let's say, a current topic of research and you want to really publicise that, and then you might change that when a new topic comes through. Is that what you're saying?
Yep. Yes, it's exactly what I'm saying. Visual content doesn't do well there. Even when you post a photo, it comes up on the feed as a link.
Really, yeah.
So, or a cut-off version. So it's not the platform to be sharing beautiful infographics or stunning inspirational imagery, or even before and after photos of, weight loss clients, for example.
But if you're pointedly linking people to that.
Yes.
Right.
Yes. So this is the tricky thing.
Conduit.
You ideally want to be creating content that is native and unique to that platform.
Right.
And this is where I think some people get come unstuck
Yep.
is they'll create something for Facebook or Instagram, for instance, and then it will automatically publish to their Twitter and Facebook. First of all, the formatting doesn't look right, but it actually, you're going to lose followers because people don't have any requirement to follow you on these individual platforms because your content's all the same. And you're also disrespecting the platform itself by not working within what works best. That's not to say that if you love Twitter, that you shouldn't share visual content, but you're better off probably hosting it on your website and then just having a sweet, snappy sentence that actually directs people, to a link. But people hate being taken off the social media platform that they're currently trawling around on. So they'll either not go or they end up getting taken away from what they were doing, which is not an enjoyable experience. So ideally, don't do that. But if it's something like, for example, you said something really great earlier, I mean, you're the king of finding fantastic research studies, but their URLs are notoriously long. That isn't something that you could necessarily do other than to post the link. And I'll tell you how to shorten the link in a second.
Can I just say, you mentioned something about funny before. I just want to say, Bill Murray, the actor.
Yes.
Awesome tweets.
Yes.
Really funny.
There's some really clever parody
Quite catchy.
accounts too.
Very brainy man.
Yeah, it's great. And that's what Twitter's about, funny, making people laugh, or you're giving them just really brief snippets of information. Now, you're limited to 140 characters per tweet. In an ideal world, you would limit that to 100 because then people can retweet or quote your tweet without cutting your message off.
Right.
So that's the ideal number to go for. Using hashtags is also really important to get your content found if that's what you're using it for. But yeah, 100 characters is ideal, which is difficult for me because I prefer to spell words out completely and not use, the letter R instead of the word
A-R-E.
A-R-E. It really does my head in. But you sometimes have to get a bit creative with how you do it. Or, of course, pointing them to an external link for your blog or wherever that might be. It is most beneficial if you do like chatting and engaging in conversation with people, which is fantastic. Not so amazing if you love writing and love writing great articles
Not the
and
right
that sort of
format.
thing. Yeah, you can use it to promote your blog. Just uploaded a great blog on, doing a parasite cleanse, click here. But you obviously can't share much more than that. So the best time to post, last time I checked, was sort of between 11 a.m. and 1 p.m. or early afternoon. Now, again, your audience might differ. It depends on the demographic you're targeting, of course. Posts that do tend to do very well on Twitter are funny things, first and foremost. Asking questions. People love to engage on Twitter and answer them or have their questions answered. Quotes and inspirational mantras, but anything that is honest and relatable and current tends to do very, very well. It's something, if you all of a sudden have a random idea or thought about something and you've got a gut reaction about something, that is when to post it and where to post it as well. It's just a quick off-the-cuff thought stream, if you like. Be careful, however, of that because you might post something in a
which you will regret later, as we have seen many actors and do.
Yes, you have to be very, very
politicians.
Careful. So you again, like Facebook, you've got to focus on building the relationships. It's easy to pursue people to build relationships with on Twitter. Great way to really engage them and create conversations. You've got to be responsive. And I really recommend thanking everybody that follows you. There are, of course, spam bots that have will automatically follow you to try and get you to follow them back. But I still think it's worth saying thank you anyway. And retweet other awesome content as well as creating your own. So just like with any social media platform, you've got to decide, am I going to be the exclusive creator of all my content, or i.e. I'm going to write everything myself and it's going to be original, or I'm going to curate and collect awesome content, as in I'm going to use other people's recipes and post other people's inspirational quotes. I do a mixture of both. I think that takes the pressure off both sides and allows you to, share and promote, colleagues and in the industry and other people doing good quality things. But yeah, I think just consider what you're doing and retweet anything that makes you laugh or you think your audience might enjoy. It's definitely about pursuing and building personal connection on Twitter. Now, the last thing I want to say about Twitter is, like Facebook, you can name your URL whatever you want. I do believe that you can change it anytime you want. Mine is just simply my name. However, if you want it to be your business name or your modality or some sort of mixture of those three things, it's a great idea if you can personalize it, because it makes it easy to remember if you're telling people about it, and certainly allows your business and your Twitter profile to be more memorable.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, so a colleague of ours really loves Instagram, and
Yes.
she's a foodie. She loves posting up really healthy recipes that she's made, or indeed trying to share ways in which she has been able to get her son to take natural medicines successfully.
Yes.
Very successfully. How would you use Instagram though?
So Instagram is one of the fastest growing platforms in the social media scene, and I think it is one of the best ones for natural therapists, because people are looking for healthy inspiration all of the time. The only thing with Instagram, however, is that it must be visually appealing. You have to work a lot harder on the quality of the photos you take, because that's all people are really looking at.
Yeah.
They might read your caption, but if your photos are not attractive, you aren't likely to build a engagement or a big following. Having said that, it is probably, I think, the largest untapped and easy to navigate source of potential clients, because hashtags are utilized very easily, more easily than I think on Twitter, and people are looking to be inspired and looking to learn, and it is just, it's an absolutely wonderful platform. And I have to say, I've got a lot of business through Instagram as well.
My only beef with Instagram is that you can't enlarge the photos. So my old eyes, I need my super focus glasses on.
And you know what? And on Facebook, I think on your phone anyway, you double tap a photo to enlarge it. If you do that on Instagram, you like it. So I'm sure that's gotten a few people into trouble. But yeah, Instagram, in a nutshell, is an inspirational community where people go to be inspired and really to feel connected to other people that they are inspired by.
Yeah.
So, it's a visually appealing platform, and you'll get a lot of more followers more quickly than someone else if you're really carefully planning your content. You've got your brand story right, your color theme, which is unique to you, and your messaging correct. But the biggest and most important thing you've got to worry about is quality photography. Now, a decent smartphone, certainly I've got an iPhone, which works beautifully, is usually sufficient. There are some really great photo editing apps where I would encourage you to do as little editing as possible, because unedited photos tend to perform much better than those that clearly look like they've been fiddled with. However, improving brightness and contrast can be a really quick and easy way to all of a sudden make your photo look like it was taken with a professional camera and make it much more appealing. And there's other things around how you frame a photo that are great. But what you really want to consider with your Instagram profile, if you haven't already set one up or you have one, consider what your Instagram name is. So when I first started on Instagram, my Instagram name was Little Miss Daisy.
What?
Little Miss Daisy. So my nickname was Daisy Duke for a very long time because of a story that will go untold in this podcast series.
Not going there.
But I initially started it as just a thing, as a personal thing. But because so many people are interested in health and well-being, and I naturally shared about that too, I started developing quite a following who were interested in me for my natural medicine information, for want of a better term. So I've since changed it to That Naturopath, which is a lot more appropriate, and I've gone through and cleaned up my profile. And when people are coming to your page, obviously the name is important, especially if they see you commenting and liking other people's photos. If you've got, Andrew Whitfield, cook, nurse, or, Belinda Reynolds, dietitian, people immediately know what you do in your name and might come and check out your page. Also, make sure your page or your profile's on public, because you want people to be able to see what content you're producing to decide whether they want to follow you or not. Now, depending on which phone someone's looking at it on, because it's a mobile app as opposed to a desktop app, that's what most people are looking at it from, they'll see your first between 6 to 12 photos and judge you immediately on both your profile name, your profile picture, your little bio and blurb, and those first at least 6 photos. So you want your photographs to have a somewhat cohesive feel. It almost needs to be like a work of art, I suppose, or a collection of images that all have something in common, whether it's, the color theme you've chosen or the style of photography you've chosen to do or the kind of things that you're sharing. And obviously if someone came to your page and it was selfie after selfie after selfie, they're not going to be interested in following you. But if it's the odd one peppered with a great recipe and a cool herb you spotted in the garden and, like Beck's tips on helping her kids to, her child to eat better. Wonderful.
Not kids yet.
Not kids, just the one so far. Those are really helpful things. So the pros about Instagram is that it's a wonderful storytelling platform that really embraces words as well as pictures. It appeals to millennials, and 25% of the population are millennials, and much of the Instagram population are millennials. So young adults who, if that's your target market, that's where you're going to find them. But just be sure to be creating imagery that is going to appeal. It is made for mobile devices, which increases the time. People spend about 39% of their daily time on Instagram, those people who are on it.
What?
So again, it's really huge.
40-odd%?
Yes. So it is a lot of time for people to be spending. They tend to pop in and out. And again, kind of like Twitter, if they're following a lot of people, their feed moves very quickly.
Yep.
But if you are known for posting inspirational quality content, people will actually deliberately visit your profile. I've got about a handful of people I follow who I specifically look up and actually go and see what else they've posted so I don't miss anything. The cons are you can't put live links in your caption yet, which I think is one of the greatest downfalls of Instagram. So what I mean by that is if you've written an awesome blog post on your website and let's say for argument's sake it's on a detox and you've posted a picture of lemon water or a green juice, you can write in the caption, I've just written an article on detoxification, find out why it really does work and why you might need to do it. You can't say click here and then put the website link.
Right.
So you've got to put it in, if you're going to do it that way, you've got to put it in the bio and the blurb at the top of your page. So just say follow the link in my profile, but then you have to keep updating that as well. So when you change it, you've got to go back to that post and say available on my blog. So that's a bit tricky and unfortunate. You can't really interact with other social media platforms very well. So you can push your Instagram posts out to Twitter and Facebook, but it's so obvious that it's come from Instagram and it doesn't really look that good.
That's what I've noticed.
Which to be honest, Facebook down regulates that as reduces your organic reach. And whereas if you'd taken the photo and posted it afresh with the same caption on Facebook, you'd get a much higher reach and it looks better. With the amount of comments that you get, I do not have anywhere near the following to worry about this. On mine, but once you start reaching several thousand, you can really struggle to go back and read through all of your comments and actually respond to them.
Yep.
So you can do it from third-party apps, but with an Instagram, it's a bit hard, so it's tricky and that restricts engagement. And also there's spammy accounts who then hijack your posts, so deleting spam posts all the time is really difficult, or it's just time consuming. And what I mean by that is there are a lot of, for example, in our industry, there's a lot of supplement companies, promoting protein powders or weight loss supplements. And because I am a nutritionist and I posts with the hashtag nutrition, they have this automatic spam bot that then just spews spammy
at you
on my post so that all of my followers feel it.
Right.
Yeah, which is really annoying. But in a nutshell, some extra tips with Instagram. Posts do pretty well on most days and times. There's typically a spike on Monday and a little bit of a dip on Sunday that I've noticed, but test that. And with regards to your demographic, because if they are, it'd be quite different if it's, an older male as opposed to a younger woman and what their life routine is like. Posting consistently, like other platforms, is really important. 3 times a day is what I've been told, but again, quality content over quantity, I think, is really key. And people, you want to make a good impression and make sure you've got your images looking nice and bright. So make sure everything you take is in really good lighting. Natural light is the best. If you've just made a beautiful dish, it's really cheap to get just white chipboard from Bunnings as a background or a pretend tabletop. Put it right beside your ranch slider or glass window, put your plate on it, throw a pretty tea towel on it, and already it's going to look 10 times better than a dark, dingy photo taken on your kitchen bench.
20-year-old chopping board.
Yes, exactly.
Yep, I have one.
I do too. And then I actually bought a couple of beautiful chopping boards specifically to display and photograph food on. It's really cheap and easy and not a lot of effort for way better pictures. Textures are really popular. You get 79% more likes on your picture if there's different textures. So, to use the food one as an example, the wood grain from the board and a beautiful texture of a chipboard. Of a tea towel of the chipboard.
So you need a chipboard, a chopping board,
yes,
and a good tea towel.
And a furry animal.
And some food.
But yeah,
furry animal.
Wood blankets, textiles, sheepskin, and people tend to like less saturated photos, which have cooler tones and are dominated by a single colour. So you want your pictures to be easy to understand at a single glance. People want to get why you posted it and what it's about. If they're looking at it wondering why you posted it or what the point of it is, then you've lost them. So combining compelling photos with really either delightful words or funny words or inspiring words is really key. And use hashtags. The best way to grow your following is using hashtags that they're already searching for, and comment on other people's posts. So, for example, a lot of people who are interested in nutrition or are trying to cut down on sugar might like the I Quit Sugar Instagram page. You can go through everyone that's ever liked the I Quit Sugar Instagram page, have a look through their feed, and if they've posted something you connect with, liking and commenting on that brings your Instagram profile to their attention, and you're reaching out to people who are likely to really enjoy what you're posting too. And in that way, you can really grow your organic reach as well. So it's got to be done thoughtfully, it's got to be done carefully, and it is a bit of investment of time. But I really do think if you're good at creating visually beautiful, compelling images, you will grow your business very, very quickly there.
What about different personality types? Do you choose platforms for various types to maximise your reach to various types of patients? Yes.
Look, I think probably the most important thing is the ideal clients and patients you're trying to get are going to gel with your style of delivery.
Right.
So, and you want to be able to choose a way of communicating that you can keep up consistently and produce good quality. Although having said that, video blogging is absolutely the way of the future. It's actually now, and people prefer that to reading more often than not. So if you can video blog and host that on your website, you can create mini little videos on Instagram and have direct people via the URL back to your website. Same thing with Twitter, or you can actually post a video on Facebook as well to engage people in the same way. And yeah, I think depending on where people are at the time of day and their individual nature, yes, they might prefer that than reading an article. So if you are comfortable doing that and you can produce something that consistently that's of a good standard, doesn't have to be professional standard, but as long as it's pretty good, then yes, by all means mix it up, and that way you will get further reach as well.
But that's going to take some practice to polish that.
It does, and I think that there's different layers of or levels of where you are with your social media. So, if you haven't yet mastered your Facebook page and producing consistent content, don't go out and buy a DSLR camera and a lighting kit and try video blogging unless you feel like you're going to be much better at that.
Could be a good tax write-off.
It'd be a great tax write-off.
Legal one?
Yes. But look, if you enjoy speaking, which I really do, then that could be a much better way of communicating your message than writing articles if that's not your strength. And, there are lots of great online courses now, or you can get easy how-tos free on YouTube to actually set that up so that you can produce something that's really good.
Amie, before we wrap up, there's a couple of things you've got to deliver on. And the first one is, how do I shorten that tag on Twitter?
Yes.
And the second one is, there are so many other platforms out there, but not all of them are really relevant for reaching future or potential patients.
Yes.
Some of them, however, have got another relevance. So can you go through those, please?
Of course I can. All right.
Firstly, in Twitter.
Yes. Okay. So with regards to shortening a URL, if you are sharing content from, say, the newspaper and you click to tweet, Twitter will shorten that URL for you. However, if you are...
if you're on the web page.
Yep, and you go click to tweet, it will
shorten with the little icon, the little birdie icon.
Yes, click the birdie.
For you people that are of the same technical level as I.
And Twitter takes care of that for you. However, if you're tweeting from your desktop or your phone and you're wanting to share, say, the website of an article you've just read or a medical paper you've just covered.
I'm on PubMed and I wish to tweet the new study on vitamin B3 nicotinamide in preventing non-melanoma skin cancer by 28%.
Wonderful.
How?
So, and you're probably going to want to say to people when you tweet it, check this out, B3 melanoma, and then non-melanoma, and then you've run out of room. So if you Google shorten URL, there are online URL shortening websites. So you may have seen links come up that start with bit.ly, ly. So bit.ly.com is one of those. There's also tinyurl.com. Owly, ow.ly is another one that also does that. And I think Google has one of their own called the Google URL Shortener. So if you just literally Google shorten URL, it'll bring all of those up. And then essentially what you do is you copy and paste in the URL you want to share. And then it spits out a manufactured tiny version, which is much shorter, which allows you room to share it.
Fantastic. It's only taken me 18 months.
We're always evolving. And can I just make a comment actually to, we're all at different stages of our learning, whether it's in clinic and on social media, and we're always doing our best. And when we know better, we do better. So if there's anything we've shared today and you think, oh my goodness, I do that and that's terrible, don't worry. Now that you know better, you can do better.
Me. So what about other platforms though?
Okay, so there's lots of other platforms. Pinterest is more like a dream board or a must-have, want-to-buy list. So people pin things that they either that inspire them in terms of homewares or they want to buy or make later. If you have an incredible photography skill and want to post recipes here, you could do very well, but I don't think it is the ideal platform for our industry. And that is just my opinion, and that could also change. But at this stage, it's certainly not for me. But there are other people who do post great recipes and imagery on there who do quite well. So
Instagram to me seems to be a much better forum for that. Yeah.
I think so. Pinterest is more of a late night in bed scrolling through for inspiration, whereas people are on Instagram to engage. They are ready to be inspired and they're ready to come and see you if they decide that they like what you're doing. LinkedIn's like having an online resume, and whilst I don't consider it the platform to find future clients, I have actually had clients come through from LinkedIn. Anyone can add you and you can accept them and they can see your resume, and sometimes that's all they want to see before they decide to come and see you. But typically speaking, it's a great way if you're a practitioner looking for, say, a new clinic to work out of or a new job, maybe at one of the major manufacturing companies if you're following them. But I think probably its real value lies in networking with other practitioners and building your professional network. It's a great way to get to know people. And again, the content you make for LinkedIn, you've got to consider who your audience is. So that audience, for me at least, I would consider are my peers or people that are interested in me as a professional. So it's not the same sort of content that I would share on Facebook and on my blog. It's perhaps a more technical level that is designed to, illustrate my knowledge to the people that I'm connected with. So there are, online experts for all these different platforms. And if you want to learn how to leverage those, it's not hard to find an online course, but I haven't covered them today because I don't think, in terms of the return on investment for your time, that you're going to be getting the customers out of it for the time that you put in.
Amie, there's one last point which I think we have to unfortunately cover, and that is the point of online bullying or cyberbullying. And people we've spoken before about there's a lack of a filter, there's a lack of a break. Some people can say something off the cuff, and on some forums that might be appropriate, like an Instagram type idea. But when you're thinking about promoting your professional brand to either future patients or indeed to your peers, you've got to be aware of this cyberbullying issue.
Yes.
And when you really need to maybe write something and not send it. Can you comment on that?
I sure can. This is probably one of the things that worries people most about creating an online social media presence professionally. And I know it's rare that I have a day where I don't think about it, either from the impact on my business and how I come across, or I see unfortunate examples of it happening. And look, it's a tricky one. With regards to different social media platforms, everyone's entitled to their own opinion. And I think having someone disagree with you or present a different opinion is fine. But you're absolutely right. People turn into animals sometimes on social media. And I think it says so much about them and nothing about you. But I think the biggest thing is that you have to be very careful to be choosing your response as opposed to reacting, and how you handle them is really key. Now, to give you an example, I've had the odd comment on my page where someone might have disagreed with what I've posted, or I think I might have posted a recipe and someone said, "Oh, yuck, that looks gross," or "That sounds disgusting." And, sometimes it's an opportunity to engage. People want more information, or maybe they were just having a bad day, and you can engage them in conversation and turn it around. And every time I've done that, it's actually gone brilliantly, and they've warmed right up. And I think some people really forget, and then when they realize they're speaking to a real person, they very quickly change their tune. However, when things become, denigrate into a personal attack or become really nasty and threatening, that person clearly has a psychological disorder, and you need to separate the feelings that it's creating in you versus what action you need to take to deal with them. So the way I look at my Facebook page is it's like my home, and everyone that comes in there and interacts with me there is being invited into my home for a cup of tea. Now, we can have a robust debate over a cup of tea, but if someone throws a cup of tea at me or pees on the couch, then they're out. They get evicted, they get deleted and blocked, and they're gone. And it's not because I'm embarrassed by what they may have said on my page. It's just inappropriate, and this is a public forum, and you're ruining it for everybody else. You're misbehaving, and everyone else is, not enjoying the party because of you anymore. So you have complete control over your social media profile. And when you spot a troll or a bully, when there's a different energy, right, to someone who may be just disagreeing or maybe simply being triggered by something you've posted, but are also desperately asking for some kind of reassurance from you, versus someone who is simply looking to inflame and offload whatever horrible feelings they're harboring and make you responsible for them. So, I guess that depends on so much on your experience. Had something like that happen to me in my early 20s, I probably would have been quite badly affected by it and maybe not knowing what to do. Nowadays, it doesn't bother me at all, but I think people should be aware that you can and should take legal action should someone cross the line.
That's right, and there are specific examples of where people have legally crossed the line, and you can easily access that if you just look up cyberbullying and look at the .org.au websites, and they're posted in various states. So different states have slightly different sites, but the general information is the same. So bullying, threatening, harassing, stalking, all of that sort of thing. They're crimes. They're not just nastiness, they're actual crimes.
So report it immediately to
defamation
the platform.
Is another one.
Yes. And so what I would do is immediately block or delete them, but just before doing that, report them to the social media platform that you're on. It's very easy to report people on Facebook, for example, and they'll look into what they're doing, and generally Facebook will remove their profile in due course. But I would also screenshot everything and record that. Bear in mind that all of your private messages can also be screenshotted or accessed. So it's not just what you post in public that is important, but what you post in private as well. And report it to the police like you would any other crime.
So just to wrap up, Amie, I thank you so much for taking us through the really critical things that we can do to extend our reach to potential clients and also to improve our network with our peers. I really thank you for taking us through that. Not the least of which was shortening that tweet URL because it was really getting to me.
My absolute pleasure, Andrew.
This is FX Medicine, and I'm Andrew Whitfield Cook. If you enjoyed today's podcast, you can find more Industry Insights podcasts and resources under the Community tab on the FX Medicine website.